targets. Alex Jones he didn't even win anything yet. And from what I understood, I didn't hear the hearing, but I was reading as much as I could on it. It's almost like a muted small W for the time being. This is Alex Jones. We've all seen the case in the Texas case when we went down there and I met up with you a couple weeks to attend that trial. They hand-selected a jury after he was defaulted into liability, a jury that was tested. They were grooming the jury to see who was amenable to issuing whopping, illegal, punitive damages awards. And they found that jury. Jury came down, said $4.5 million for compensatory damages for the two plaintiffs, $45 million for punitive. The legal cap in Texas was $750,000 per claim, so they might have had like $1.5 million, maybe $2 million, something along those lines. That judge, psychopath Guerra Bella, whatever the hell her name is, authorized, approved the punitive damages of $45 million, which is just, it's wildly unlawful. Jones said he's going to appeal it. He appealed it. Apparently, he found a receptive judge who says, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. What was the explanation, the excuse for deviating from the legislative caps for punitive damages? And that's where it looks like it might be going, that they might overturn the punitive damages, but maintain the award. I say that's a very small W because from what I understood, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, the same judge basically said, we're not going to overturn, or we're more cynical or skeptical of overturning the liability verdict finding because of the default. And so Alex is going to be stuck with that horse crap finding of liability for alleged default on discovery obligations coming out of Connecticut, but maybe he'll only owe $5 million or $7 million instead of $50 million.
Yeah, we'll see. Essentially the plaintiff's lawyers could have got a deal that was much more lucrative than they're likely going to end up with. Mm-hmm. And it's because they were pursuing it for political reasons rather than the best interest of their clients. And that's how the lawyers associated with the Alex Jones cases in both Texas and Connecticut run a substantial risk of being sued for legal malpractice because they, I think, had a breach of duty of good faith to their clients, because their real goal in the case was their personal political self-interest rather than what was in the best interest of their clients. And we're just seeing more proof of it. Because this is the commie court of appeals. So in Texas, people don't know, the courts of appeals are organized by jurisdiction. So the net effect of it is you have like a bunch of appellate courts. Like in most states, you have one court of appeals. You don't have like 30, but not in Texas. And they vote for them, but basically it's Austin gets to elect not only its trial court judges, but its appellate judges. So they're all lefty Democrats who have been butchering defamation law to get at Jones, butchering default law to get at Jones, butchering due process of law to get at Jones. But one of the most egregious errors was this preposterous ability to try to circumvent the cap on punitive damages, especially when he had already retracted the statement, so he shouldn't have been subject to punitive damages anyway under Texas law. So this was just one of the more obviously glaring abuses of power that this judge did. And even the commie courts in Austin are recognizing they have to enforce at least a little bit of law in the city of Austin, which otherwise doesn't have any. And so I think you'll see sooner or later some set of courts is going to invalidate these rulings. The only question is, do they do it to help Jones, or do they do it 2 years from now to say, oh, that was just the Jones case, we're going to reverse everything, and it's never going to apply outside of Jones? One or the other is going to happen, because the only way in which Jones could have been found guilty, and the only way in which Jones could have to owe money, is if they lied to the jury and the public. And the way they were able to lie to the jury was by these bogus the defaults where he had substantially complied, and where the default remedy is never supposed to be the death penalty of depriving you of a right to a trial by jury. Because that's what they stripped him of his right to due process of law by not allowing him to file certain motions and a means of relief. Then they stripped him of his right to a trial to have the jury determine whether he did anything wrong or not. Then they stripped him of the ability to present meaningful evidence that would limit the scale and the scope of damages, including exculpatory statements he had made. And then they had the verdict be something that directly violated the plain language and the easy text of Texas law. And, God bless Megyn Kelly, but she had people like, Bankston on. These are fraudsters and bad faith actors, and mainstream media shouldn't have been promoting them. and they should be embarrassed that they were ever part of the Alex Jones persecution, because it set a precarious precedent that endangers all of our liberties.
Yeah, well, it's.
But you're probably gonna get Megyn Kelly kicked off anyway by telling them about the real P. Diddy conspiracy.
No,
All of a sudden, Apple Podcast was stalling, and she was like, "What's going on?" Oh, you had Vivo on, and he got red pilled by Barnes, and he's sharing all these dangerous conspiracy theories.
I did get a little. I mean, first of all, not to get a little nervous. I was a little not surprised. I was a little surprised that angle hadn't. It looked like I actually said something new to her, which made me feel good. But then I didn't piece together that the problems they did have uploading that afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a coincidence. There's probably nobody over at Apple that. I mean, if Diddy there was an honest trial of Diddy's trial, it would implicate the highest ranking people in Hollywood and the highest ranking people in the tech industry and the highest ranking people in the music industry.
I think it implicates members of the New York government or the New York state, and certainly Kamala Harris. But so also just to highlight, this changes nothing in Connecticut. What's the status? Connecticut's where he got the $1.2 billion.
That's up to the U.S. Supreme Court, because that was another insane ruling by a corrupt set of judges. But the Connecticut Supreme Court refuses to address it. The Connecticut Court of Appeals covered for it. So it's now going to be up to the Supreme Court of the United States. Are they going to let this lasting stain on American constitutional liberty and the embarrassment of the rule of law in this country continue unabated, or do something about it? Either way, I think whether it's the bankruptcy process, Texas process, U.S. Supreme Court process, somewhere along the way, the plaintiffs are going to end up with a lot less money because their lawyers cared more about politics than their own clients.